Greetings and salutations, editors. It is I, Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. This time I'm going to do an unboxing / overview review video of the new Dungeons & Dragons starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. And as much people keep saying, it is an incredibly light box. But then again, that's kind of the case with all Wizards starter sets. You know, they tend to be on the light side for content. The Rick and Morty one is actually one of the best ones, by the way. I have a whole playlist of all the starter sets, including the Pathfinder, Starfinder, Warhammer, Fantasy Roleplay starter sets, Call of Cthulhu starter sets, RuneQuest on the channel. So you can go ahead and run to that and check that out. But it's the standard size starter set box. It's basically the same size as the starter set box for the original one, which I'm currently running a campaign through. So there you go. Might have to adjust that. If you hear the music going in the background, I just happen to have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on, and I was about to play some rounds of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and make some videos of that. But anyways, first and foremost, it shows you what you get on the back of the box. It's actually quite basic. Comparison this to, say, oops, it's upside down. To Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you get a whole bunch of pawns, you get a bunch of character sheets, you get a whole boatload of things. And with your Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Starfinder, and so forth, starter sets, there is a substantial, noticeable difference in the amount of contents. This sells for $20, where the Starfinder Pathfinder boxes sell for almost $30-ish. $34? Yeah, I say $34. $39.99. But trust me, that $20 into the Pathfinder box comes with a lot of extra stuff. So here we go. First and foremost, same basic artwork around. When you pull off the top of the box, it's the same thing around the whole thing. They just use the exact same artwork over the whole thing. Untreated cardboard on the inside. That picks up moisture and goes bad over time. You get a standard set of dice in a little baggie, non-resealable. It's essentially the same set of dice as you get it with the original starter set. And in fact, is almost very much the same in color tone. I happen to have them in my dice tray. So, for all intents and purposes, it's the same set of dice. And it's a decent pair of dice. It's just the bare minimum number of dice. It's only a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20. There's no D10s dice, so you cannot roll percentage. And there is no multiple D6s, so you can't easily roll out your stats quickly. But you can, and do it by just rolling your dice once, multiple times. Right here, you happen to have this little handy-dandy advertisement promoting Wizards of the Coast and their social media accounts, as well as the little section on the back, welcome to the adventure, telling you, hey, go to this site and do a survey for us. First and foremost is the Starter Booklet. You got a nice little table of contents on the front here. You got characters across the top here. It's the same artwork as the box. Please note that the characters are homages to the Toei, Toei production Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. Wizards of the Coast does not own those characters. Some people have bought this set thinking that the characters would be included in the set as playable characters. I'm sorry to say that is absolutely not the case. Wizards of the Coast does not own the characters, so they cannot use the characters. Yet they create characters that look super similar to them and place them throughout the book. On the very front, in the inside page here, it's the Welcome to Dungeons & Dragons section. It gives you a nice overview of various basic terms and concepts for Dungeons & Dragons. This is designed as a teaching aid to new players. I would actually much prefer this to be used over, say, like streams and stuff like that. Streaming creates issues in itself. So you go from like basic terms and concepts, like adventure, character sheet, creature, dungeon, encounter, monster, object, player, character, which also is referred to as a PC, stat block, and then they got a little section on what's next in a little box. You go to the next section, it's Chapter 1, Playing the Game. It goes over the basic construction of your character sheet, and how the mechanics work on your character sheet, like ability scores to ability modifiers, typical difficulty by class here. So you don't roll a d20, you get like a 21. If it was a hard task that the DM deemed as a hard task, the typical DC would be around 20. Since then, if you rolled over 21, you succeed. It explains quickly proficiencies. It references in various other sections of the book where you can find more information. It talks about how bonuses do not stack. Advantage and disadvantage, they don't stack. So disadvantage and advantage don't stack with each other. They just negate each other. And you can't stack multiple advantages, and you cannot just stack multiple disadvantages. If you want a system that has multiple advantage, multiple disadvantage stacking, the Modifius 2D20 systems has a multiple stacking difficulty and adjusting my light. But anyways, the Modifius 2D20 system games have multiple dice stacking for advantages and disadvantages. They use a different term for it. Call of Cthulhu and RuneQuest have penalty die, which you can add up to 2 stages or down 2 stages, and they cancel out 1-to-1. Where Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is just straight, you get advantage. Oh no, something gives you disadvantage. It's negated. It's neutral. Goes into ability checks, making ability checks, common skills tied to abilities and examples on this section right here. Talks through the process of rolling an ability check, working together, saving throws, how that mechanic operates, social interactions, alignment, basic alignment, which is a good player aid early on for role-playing, the concept of role-playing, a little more on ability checks, the environment, travel, falling, vision, obscured areas, and it keeps going. Passive perception rules, which also gives you the mechanic for passive statting calculations, interacting with objects, fighting hidden things, suffocating mechanic, combat rules. They got some new artwork in here. Concept of surprise, initiative, your turn, bonus actions, reactions, movement, creature size is how it affects their standing on the squares if you're using a battle mat, or if you're just using theater of mind, how it relates to how many characters can fit around them easily and make contact. Breaking up your move, you can break up your move within Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Difficult terrain, how that affects it. Being prone, moving around other creatures, flying, climbing, swimming, and crawling mechanics, long jump mathematics and mechanics. And it just keeps going on and on. High jumps, actions in combat, searches, making attacks. Has a nice handy dandy illustration of what half cover and 3/4 cover or 2/3 cover is, or 3/4. Mechanics for grappling, hit points, and all the other fun stuff. New artwork here. It's mostly text with a little artwork, a little bit of artwork dashed in. This is actually, it goes into the equipment section. It gives you a basic list of basic equipment, some weapons, how the proficiency system works with your weapons, and so forth. Items. Then it goes into a spell section with a character that looks awfully like Presto. How to gain spells, spell levels, spell slots, casting a spell, concept of what is cantrips, rituals, special abilities, magic items, and so forth. The different schools of magic, range mechanic for spells, components, verbal, somatic, and material, which is the basic structure, and explains in some of the basic components and what the prices of the various casting implements are, durations, and so forth, areas of effect. It is very important to note that when you look at this is actually a piece of artwork from the player's handbook. This artwork with the little dot indicates where the source of the cone of the effect is starting from. So if you see with the line here, there's a little star there, and there's a line, and then there's a cone, the little star on top, and it points down. Basic rule with lines and cones and squares is that it is the facing direction or the direction in which your caster is pointing or directing their will at. So if I have a cone and my character is pointing this way, the cone projects from my character's pointy finger out in a spread. However, if your player says he wants to shoot a cone upwards, no trouble. They just simply say they're shooting it upwards, and the cone expands out as a cone going upwards, or downwards, or left or right. It is not fixed to exact facing of your character. Don't worry about it. I've had DMs get weird with the whole facing of your cones and spells. This section explains targeting with the spells and spell descriptions. You have various spells here. This is just the basics for the first 3 levels of characters, which is basically level 1 and level 2 spells. And then on the very back you have a nice little appendix section on conditions. I'll try to dig this out. Compared to the starter rule book for the Fanlin, this book is actually still pretty good. It has better quality artwork in it than the new book, and it still does the job very admirably. However, this one is of like Dungeons & Dragons 5.0 rules. So there's some components in this book where it defines states or mechanics that are no longer used in 5th edition or have been adjusted or eroded out. So it's still perfectly good. Lost Mines of Fanlin is still a pretty good one to get. But the new standard is this one, and I still suggest Essentials and the Rick and Morty one up here. These two are probably the best ones overall. So that's it for that book. And then we had to go on to this book, but before then, I will go over the last little bit. There happens to be this cardboard filler section in here, in the bottom of the box. The bottom of the box is untreated. Cardboard is treated, though. a piece of hard paper. You do not get, as I said before, you do not get the characters from the cartoon. You do get new characters, though. You got a wizard. You got a rogue. You got a paladin. You got a fighter. And you got a cleric. And on these sheets, this sheet is set up the typical basic standard, basic sheet setup, not the easy training sheet setup that they sell in this pack. I got a video on this on the channel that shows that off, along with a link to it. Right here, you got all the proficiencies and all the stuff, and right in this box in the front, they wrote out all your abilities for this character, your proficiencies as a wizard, how you do attacks, etc., and how your spell mechanic works. And then it continues on to the backside, your race, your background, and making the character yours. Some adjustments and changes you can make on the character to evolve it over time effectively. And then you have a little more information on spell casting here, your level 1 and your level 2 spells. And the same thing is basically built out across all these sheets. It's slightly different. You got a little piece of artwork. This is the halfling rogue. This is the high elf wizard. Make sure to give the wizard to the smartest person in the group. You got your paladin. You got your wood elf ranger or wood elf fighter. It's a wood elf fighter, not a wood elf ranger. And you got your dwarf cleric. Okay, then on to the second book. This book is about 48 pages long. It is actually set up fairly well at the beginning. And it's rather to the point and automatically drops you right at Shipwreck Isle or gets you right on to the adventure. No mucking about. You got your first set of encounters for Chapter 1 for your level 1 party to establish your interactions and the concept of alignment and such and so forth and how creatures interact with each other. And then as you move along, you jump into Chapter 2. Chapter 2, in this adventure, the Chapter 1 is basically your entry point, similar to Goblin Arrows from Phandalin, which is a linear path. And then when you get to Chapter 2, it becomes the Phandalin-esque section, where it's a big sandbox. And then, which is basically Chapters 2 and 3 in Lost Mines of Phandalin. Phandelver. So this whole section right here, you got Chapter 2 and 3, and so forth, and 4. 2 and 3 basically are just sandbox sections, and then 4 is basically the end of the adventure. And I'm not going to show you all that stuff because that's going to ruin it. At some point, I'm going to have to run the adventure to do a proper review, in which case I will do a guide and review of the adventure. But in the back of this section, this book is for the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle book. There is a section on magical items. Nothing amazing. It's basically standard stuff from the player's handbook. And then you get some basic information on how to read and operate monsters. And how their senses and languages and all their little mechanics work. Then you got various creatures in here. And then there's a few, like Runa, the adult bronze dragon, which is a unique bronze dragon. And then you also have a unique myconid in here. as well as a unique Spore Servant Octopus in here. And then you have Turok and Vernoth, which are unique characters in themselves. And that's basically it. Now, my personal thoughts on this is that this is a good starter set. The weird things are that it's just bare bones. I mean, it's really bare bones. If you compare it to something like Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Starfinder, Pathfinder, it's just really basic. There's hardly anything in here. Grab the Starfinder box out. And it takes a good bit of effort to open the sucker because it's so packed full of pawns and little standees for your pawns. And you're got your aid cards here and to teach you the mechanics of the game and so forth. So this is $20 more than this, but you basically get like 4 times the stuff. My Wii U collection right there, right behind Starfinder. So if you're brand new to Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition as a Dungeon Master, I would suggest go ahead and buying this. However, much like they have in here in the advertisement, they got the Essentials Kit, which is their level up. That is also a complete replacement of that factor, as there is sufficient rules in here for running and teaching people how to play Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition in the Essentials Kit. The Essentials Kit has an MSRP for $24.99, so $5 more, you get a lot better adventure, a lot better book. Dragons of Stormwreck Isle is a levels 2 to 6 player, levels 1 to 3, where the original starter set, Lost Minds of Phandelver, oh my goodness, is easily a 3 to 6 player adventure, and it's a levels 1 to 5, and you get a lot more stuff in this one than you do get in the new starter set. So there you go. The new starter set kind of sits in that like 3.5 star territory. The new starter set is basically 3.25 stars, where the original starter set is actually more like 3.75 stars. So the original starter set is still the superior starter set to the new starter set, except that the new starter set is a little more cleaned up a little bit in details, but the Lost Minds of Phandelver starter set is a straight up superior adventure. Way more stuff going on in it. And it segues right into so many campaigns easily. Where the starter set for Dragons of Stormwreck Isle doesn't seem to be that amazing. It's I'm going to run it and see what it comes out as, but there you go. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, my new light is reflecting up. I got a new light I was trying out here. It works fairly well, but except I keep adjusting it around, and sometimes if I'm not careful where I set things, it gets a little glare off of it. It's one of those handy dandy stand lights. I can actually unplug it, and you notice that the light got darker here all of a sudden because it's one of these little light box stands. And it has multiple I can turn it on. Oh my goodness. And it's LED, and it has this slip-out sheath here. And it has a telescoping head. It comes in handy dandy if I ever want to take this out somewhere. Oh my goodness. Let's try pointing it down. My goodness, that's weird. Me screwing around with my new light. It also comes with a blue sheet and a orange sheet and a red sheet that you can slide in and out for different colors. I can dim it. I can also change the colors. That's more white-blue. Oh my goodness. I can also point it at the wall, so it black splashes off the wall. And that's another thing I could probably do with it to make it a little bit more tolerable, is just have it hit off my white wall. But anyways, yeah, I just got a new light, and I'm screwing around with it to see if I can get it better set up so it lights my area better. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, a magnificent month, and see you next time.